Oh, okay, we're doing Tron again. That's kind of fun, because Tron is sort of the Socratic ideal of this nerd nostalgia IP cycle that we're sort of stuck in, where the original was not popular, not a hit, not particularly well reviewed at the time, and even people who really enjoy it, like me, if we're being honest, will tell you that it's really always been more about the potential of the thing than the actual thing, and even that is kind of stretching it. Like anyone my age who tries to tell you the original Tron actually was groundbreaking, important science fiction outside of the look of it and Wendy Carlos music is really not dealing with the full reality of the thing, or really why it endures or even works in and of itself. There's plenty of early philosophical cyberpunk computer world science fiction that's aged much worse, but actually tried to have actual deeper, more complex things to say, and that's why it's aged worse. What's genuinely fun but also absurd and sort of funny about Tron is that it plays like a self-important, gritty reboot of itself right from the start. You know, like someone's trying to make a dark, no jokes, no laughs, take this serious version of a story that feels like it was not so much conceived by children, but definitely for them in what might have been the original hypothetical text. And that dissonance is what made the original so unique and cool. It's got that unforgettable, nothing else like it before or since, neon lights against endless darkness, 80s arcade cyberworld aesthetic, and all the dialogue and world building is phrased and parsed in this big, portentous language that's supposed to sound Shakespearean or like some Roman Empire bullshit, but mostly just sounds like you're at D&D and your dungeon master just watched Conan for the first time, and now he's way too into his shit this week. But the actual character and plot stuff is exactly at the level of, hey, welcome to Computerland, I'm your pal Petey the Program. Folders are our houses, video games are sports here, the cursor is my car, we've got to rescue Jerry the JPEG from the recycle bin, let's go!
I swear I saw
digital hallucinations!
You know, like that, but everybody talks like characters in Grant Morrison comics who know their characters in Grant Morrison comics. That's basically the original Tron, which is an insane thing to make a movie out of, which is why it's cool that Disney once spent a bunch of money to do that, even if the result was always going to be more interesting as an experiment than an actual movie. You know, one of those rare but seemingly slightly less rare for a fraction of an eye blink in the early 80s sci-fi fantasy films that feels like it might have been sort of for grown-ups but definitely clicked for the intended audience of arcade-loving video kids, and looks and sounds exactly on the edge of its own moment in time, so pretty much designed to be something that certain audiences like when they watch it but love when they remember it. And since so much of that audience is now both making and writing about films and media today, it's not too surprising that they've spent the intervening 40 plus years trying to get back to that impossible memory, like trying to fall back asleep into a dream. So in this newest attempt, we now have two rival companies run by the latest ideological successors to the good and bad guys from the original movie, with two whole computer world systems, one bluey-green for good that makes apps and video games, one red for evil that makes military software. Pause and roll your eyes at any media in 2025 still pretending that those are two distinct industries. They've both invented a reverse version of the zap you into Computerland laser from the previous movies that lets them print video game characters and weapons and stuff into reality. The good guys want to use it to save the world by making infinite video game food, I think is the basic idea here. The bad guys want to use it to bring video game soldiers and tanks and bombs and things out to sell them as super soldier mercenaries. You know, which kind of to me seems like a stupid plan, because in my own experience, why would you waste resources selling them the guys from Tron, you know, who can just throw murder frisbees, when I bet a handful of like those hopping gargoyle guys from the original Castlevania could probably just wipe out the whole Russian army in a couple hours. Anyway, neither company can actually get anywhere with these plans, because the real-world video game guys can only stay stable for a short time outside the computer without a missing line of code that was invented by Jeff Bridges from the first movie, and he's still missing or dead or whatever, so the good and evil CEOs are both looking for it. The bad CEO guy sends out his main video game killer guy, ARES, played by Jared Leto, but are you sitting down? Turns out they programmed the ARES AI too sophisticated, so he learns stuff by looking at the good CEO's bio and reading a couple paragraphs of Frankenstein, and flips from good guy to bad guy kind of like immediately, so they send other bad guys to fight ARES, and yeah, that's our pitch. We're doing Terminator 2 crossed with, hey, in the first two Trons they put people in the computer, so in this one we'll put computer people in the real world.
Or, yeah, we could all just shoot each other. Here, have guns. I don't care anymore.
You know, so we get programs fighting each other with video game weapons in real places, a recognizer fighting planes and choppers and flying around big city skyscrapers, and light cycles on real streets, chase scenes, and it all looks pretty fucking great. Yeah, like you don't go to Tron movies for a story, you go for big crazy neon visuals with great sound design, killer soundtrack, and they nailed all three of those things. They all look spectacular and sound spectacular. See it on a big screen with good sound and get your shit wrecked. If you're coming for that, it delivers. I mean, I can't ignore the fact that this is the least interesting, least consequential, most deafeningly dumb excuse for a story populated by the emptiest excuses for characters that this franchise has yet managed to produce, which is really saying something if you can remember anything in Tron Legacy, punctuated by an almost insulting level of, yeah, I guess we'll pick up something resembling a plot in the next one, maybe, to be continued-ism in the closing moments, nor can it be overlooked that even by whatever curve you want to allow that ARES himself appears in the same way Vin Diesel just kind of hovers at the outer margins of the later Fast and Furious movies to have been crafted specifically to allow Jared Leto to ostensibly headline a movie while also interacting with the rest of the actors and maybe filmmakers only when absolutely necessary to the main character, that the main character of this is simultaneously a confusing, boring charisma vacuum who barely looks like he was ever on set, although I'm sure he probably was. It looks like they couldn't have possibly comped him in all the time. But I also can't deny that the filmmakers make exceptional use of their audiovisual canvas and of that nearly wall-to-wall 9-inch nail score. It looks great, it sounds great, it's pretty goddamn cool feeling. You know, and if nothing else, the loud, aggressive, red laser's bad, blue laser's good, summon the next bigger toy to fight them, shake the walls explosions, every problem's solution being some version of a tank, motorcycle, laser cannon, or jetpack vibe going on is completely and unapologetically aware of itself, but also not trying to impress you or undermine you with that sense of self. This movie is basically a proudly stupid 11-year-old's YouTube remix of itself, the kind of movie that thinks the coolest possible thing that can exist is a hero standing up slowly, the same hero opening his eyes slowly, and then that same hero drawing his weapon slowly, all being punctuated by repeatedly slamming the same super loud electronic Casio-style bass chord again and again and again, and I can't in good conscience say that any of this is good, because it isn't. Charitably, this is a 6 out of 10 experience, but it is exactly what they're advertising. So, yeah,